live from LivJudo Studios. Here we are, buddy. This is it.
Yeah.
This is it. So I want to thank you for being here today with me.
Yep.
Let me tell you what we're doing. All right. We'll just start with that.
Let's roll.
So first of all, as you know, and you know, for good or bad, this is show number 2, actually, right?
Yeah.
So
at least we hope.
Yeah. Well, right. That's a good point.
Yeah.
So we went through this before, what, a couple weeks ago at this point?
Yeah.
Right. And turned out that we weren't actually recording. So that's cool because that was fun. But so what we're doing here is just doing a show for the people, and LivJudo is hopefully going to be a brand name in and around the United States and hopefully the world that really just talks about fun and interesting content about judo. So I drug you into this, you know that, and you're my friend and my business colleague, and you don't know a whole bunch about judo, I don't think, right?
No, I know nothing about judo.
The
only thing I know about judo at this point is the last show that was unrecorded. Right. The one thing I do know is that you piqued my interest a lot in it. Good. Because of I can't remember exactly, the spiritual part of it is what you said.
Sure. Well, that and just the connectivity that we share in the judo community. So anyway, just talking about sort of the general picture of what we're doing here. Our mission is really twofold. One, to raise money for our athletes to give them the best chance of success at every level. Obviously, the most significant, or I shouldn't, not, that's the wrong word, not significant, the most high profile judo athletes in the world are, of course, our Olympic athletes.
Sure.
And our Olympic athletes that win, like Kayla Harrison, Travis Stevens, and Marty Malloy. Okay, all medalists in the last 2 Olympics. So those are the names and those are the faces that the judo public most recognizes. But equally as important is our junior athletes that are having good success and coming through the pipeline to hopefully that Olympic success. And then at the lower level, which I don't like that term, but at the core level is a better term, are developing young athletes in the very young junior programs throughout the country. So those. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to ask you. You had mentioned to me before that unbeknownst to me, you never really know what a person's life is about. But you had mentioned something about your career in judo, which really intrigued me because it was almost like I was like, "Wow, are you kidding me?"
So just about my life?
What you used to be something like.
Well, no, and you know what? We'll definitely jump into that.
Okay.
But it's at this stage of the game, certainly not about me, for sure.
Sure.
But I do want to explore that a little bit with you before the show's over, because you're interested, and that matters to me.
Okay.
But anyway, so just to finish up on the core spirit of what we're doing here is raising money for the athletes at all 3 levels: the elite Olympic, the junior elite, and then what I would call more of the core developing at the lower level. That's 50% of our mission here, and the other 50% is really just to deliver interesting, meaningful content to our viewers and our podcast listeners about what judo means in their lives, in so many lives, and how judo in and of itself has impacted who they are as people, and in some cases have really changed lives. Judo has really changed lives. And again, not to talk about the value or not of any particular sport, because all sport has real value. There's no matter what your sport is. Figure skating was no, okay. All right. I had that one lined up, but anyway, no, I know you were
water skier.
Water skier, that's right. Okay, no, not to.
I think some people don't think that's a sport, but
you just look like an athletic dude. I don't see you on skates. I really don't. But anyway, so the reality is judo's done so much for so many, and it does have sort of, as you mentioned earlier, it has a spiritual sort of side to it that I think maybe people don't think of it that way. I do. Not everybody may think of it that way. More as core values that were instilled, to us through our founder, Jigoro Kano, in the late 1880s, in Japan. I mean, he was an educator by trade, brilliant man, and his dream was to internationalize judo through the Olympic Games, and he was successful in doing that. He didn't live to see it be part of the Olympic Games, but he was the initial influence and visionary, to make that happen, to internationalize the sport. And with that, when his values related to not just judo but life, and they're generally universal values that are attributable to all different types of cultures throughout the world, but it has a universal connectivity to it through sport, which I think is unusually unique compared to other sports. So that's a little bit about just in general moving forward, the shows that we're going to bring to our judo community. What we're targeting is interesting stories, interesting guests to talk about their relationship just to judo in general, and then of course highlight our athletes, which we all care deeply about. We won't stay focused probably on every international event, which some people find very, very interesting. Others are more just about the sport in general. And they're, the majority of judo practitioners are recreational, actually. But anyway, so future shows, we're going to keep everything at 20 minutes because I just think it's more palatable for anybody to listen to a podcast. It's just 20 minutes long. It's not a huge commitment. It's not a Joe Rogan commitment, who I think if you listen to Joe Rogan podcasts, oh my God, I mean, they're amazing, right? Yeah. And I wouldn't have believed that a podcast could consistently keep me captivated for 2 hours. Yeah. And so his podcasts are long, but they're never without good quality content. Oh, yeah. And he does an amazing job. Well, obviously, neither one of us are Joe Rogan, and our judo.
Well, I kind of look like him, don't I?
Well, yeah, no, actually a little bit. Yeah. You get the shaved head thing going. You'd be there.
My wife will not. There. No, she will not like that.
But anyway, so we're gonna keep them at 20 minutes, and also we're targeted on judo, and Joe is obviously has multiple subjects all the time, right? Which isn't our goal. So. Anyway, you had a question. So you asked about me. So yeah, I was president of USA Judo for 8 years, 2008 to 2016. I worked hard, served, I think effectively the best I could. We had some good success. Judo's such a competitive sport internationally, and that's the thing that people don't get. I mean, they don't get it. Judo is one of the largest 2 or 3 sports in the world in terms of practitioners. Right. And in the United States, of course, we don't. The average person doesn't know that. In fact, the average person in the United States doesn't probably even know what judo actually is. You have an opportunity every 4 years to see it in Olympic Games. If you catch it, you see it, it's interesting at minimum. You may have some questions if you have the opportunity to see it. But outside of that, most people don't even really get what it is. So the size of the sport internationally, it's mind-blowing compared to its popularity in the United States. So we're going to work hard to change that. Anyway, so retired as president in 2016. So this is my way of trying to give back to the sport in a meaningful way. That's I think current with what modern day social media technology and just media in general offers to get the word out on what's new and interesting and impacting and valuable in the sport. So anyway, that's kind of the quick overview.
Yeah, that's cool. I actually have been thinking a lot about it. I'm looking forward to it. I'm 49.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you were older. No. Okay, all right.
Don't I look good?
Comedian, I'm not. 15. All right.
Yeah. So no, I obviously I'm starting to feel the effects of age, and I'd really like to get into better shape. And when you started talking about it, and then the spiritual aspect of it, it's something that I'm really kind of curious to see where this road takes me.
Well, I think spiritual could be the wrong word to use consistently. Oh, and I used it. I was the one that used it. I used it.
I agree with you, but it was something that caught my attention.
I think some people, may interpret that sort of as a religious experience, and which it clearly is not a religious experience.
And I don't think I perceived it that way.
But to me, it does have a spiritual aspect. But the things that I think of when I think about my experiences in judo, I started judo in 1968.
You did?
Yeah.
How old are you?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. I'm 57.
Okay.
But,
oh man.
But
that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. But anyway, so in 1968, judo had just recently been on I Love Lucy, and I think 64 and 65, judo was consistently shown on I Love Lucy. It was on McHale's Navy once.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, so.
And for those younger generation that doesn't know what those shows are.
Oh well, that. Yeah. Well, they can Google it, right?
Yeah, we just aged ourselves without saying our age.
Sure. Good point. But anyway, so actually in 1968, more people knew as a percentage, more people knew about judo and just generally what it was. Than today, certainly as a percentage, with 331 million people in this country. So that's interesting to me that we kind of got off on the right foot, and then I think there was multiple reasons why, but one of the reasons that I think is most significant is because of the values that we embrace in judo that we'll get into in future shows, and Jigoro Kano Sensei's sort of teachings that are really embraced at every level of rank in judo, from beginner all the way up through 9th, 10th degree black belt. You really, it doesn't really necessarily coincide. It can, but it doesn't necessarily coincide with a business model that's about making money. And it's not specifically addressed in a way that's like, don't do this, don't go make money from judo. But it doesn't embrace sort of a system that just naturally falls. So most great senseis in judo, they're not doing it for money, right? Which is what you would want for your children, is to have a sensei who's doing it for all the right reasons, unrelated to money. But then it makes it difficult to, provide the basics for your club and your organization, and with regard to new mats, better space, just facilities. So it's sort of a catch-22, to not embrace. So more and more, there's successful clubs around the country that are embracing more of a business model, which I think ultimately is what we have to do to grow the sport in this current environment that we live in. But so the growth of the sport is really predicated on two things, I think, is exposure, with this kind of thing, and media and the Olympics, and that's number one. Number two, and probably equally as importantly, is having just good quality clubs that we can refer people to throughout the country. They have a consistent curriculum that teach consistently, which most of them do anyway. Mm-hmm. What most of them don't do is necessarily make the money that they deserve to expand and grow their club over a period of many years. It's a lot of work. It's just a shit ton of work. So
I can imagine.
Yep.
Interesting.
So what's your take on this show, Patrick? What are some of the interesting things that you want to talk about, or
Well, I think that at my age,
yes,
I have been thinking, a lot about. I used to be obviously much more athletic, and then I've had a few injuries that have slowed me down quite a bit. And so I've been thinking about doing things that, I've always been fascinated with martial arts, although I never ever pursued any type of martial art. Only because I think I was probably a little intimidated by probably the discipline, the self-discipline. I'm a very self-disciplined person, but to commit that time, I'm very focused on my business. And so anything outside of that is really just secondary. And so, but I'm getting to a point in my life, my age, where I'm realizing that I can't live my life like that.
One thing about judo that's I find so interesting, and I think everybody that does judo does at some point reflect on this, is that judo is really one of the very, very few sports, very, very few sports, that it really is a lifetime experience, or can be just naturally a lifetime experience. And it's so fraternal. People, if you're a judo, we say judoka. If you're a judoka, and you are an American, and you're a recreational judoka, okay, and you happen to be traveling around Europe at any age, 20, 30, 40, 60, and you go to maybe a dojo in France or Germany or Italy or England, and I guarantee you're gonna, and I can talk from experience, you're gonna meet people that are gonna care about you immediately because you're one of them, even if you don't speak the same language. You're gonna have beers, wine, and meals with them, and if you need a place to stay, and you ask, you're gonna have a place to stay. That's the kind of spirit that exudes throughout the world of judo, and it's pervasive and it's consistent. Russia, I mean, it's consistent. We're judo folk, and you don't find that in other sports as much, I think, and you don't find the degree of age, 6-year-olds to 80-year-olds that are practicing the sport. I think one of the really unique things about the sport, in my opinion, is that it combines core values that are pretty universally taught throughout. It combines true athletic physical exertion, which name a sport that doesn't. They all do.
Sure.
For the most part.
Except for golf. I heard golf.
Curling is one I have a hard time getting my arms around. I mean, I really tried to become a curling fan in the last Winter Olympics.
Yeah.
I said, okay, look, I do enjoy watching. I got to figure out what this is all about.
Yeah.
Because I want to be a fan. Like in the worst way, I want to be a fan. Right. So I put myself through about 10 hours of curling, and I just couldn't get there.
Really?
I just couldn't get there. So, but anyway,
well,
go ahead.
Good for you for 10 hours. I probably watched 10 minutes, and that was enough for me.
Yeah, I tried. So, and then so I lost my train of thought. But I had 3 things I was going to tell you about judo. So the
core values.
Core values.
The physical aspect.
The physical aspect. Oh, thank you. I'm right back on track. See how that works? We got this connection going. That works. I'm right back on track. So it's the adversity. That's what it is. So it's not only the core values you get every day on the mat that isn't necessarily overtly spoken, or preached, it just kind of comes through in your interaction with the other judoka and your sensei. These things, that you absorb them over time. You just absorb them. So that's number 1. Number 2 is the physical exertion. Who doesn't feel good sweating for 2 hours or an hour and a half? Who doesn't come off the mat feeling good after they physically exert themselves? But then the third thing, and it's most significant, or equally as significant, is that on some level it is combat. It is a man or a woman against a man or a woman in a very serious way. We have a sport where we generally don't get hurt. It happens, but it's rare that we get hurt, or certainly we get hurt bad. But you are physically exerting yourself against another human being, and other sports certainly have that. Football, you might say. Wrestling is another great sport. Wrestling, great sport. Great sport.
We won't talk about my career in wrestling.
Great sport.
Yeah.
But think of all the sports where you don't really man or woman up against another man or woman in a way that's you're either dominating or being dominated, one or the other. So it's humbling. It's humbling because no matter how tough and able you are, you're either going to have a bad day or a bad night, and somebody's gonna take you to the woodshed, or you're just not all you think you are, and you have you visit another dojo, or you go to a national tournament when you've only been a regional champ. It's a very humbling thing. So it keeps you in check. It keeps you in check.
Wow.
So those 3 things are universal, whether it's Russia, Turkey, Italy, wherever you're at, Japan, China, South America, Brazil. Those 3 things are always true. Values, physical exertion, and one-on-one, either being dominated or dominating somebody else. And those 3 things are constantly are growing you as a human being. They're constantly growing you. So you find people who started judo as youth, as young people. They loved it. They may have had some great success, or maybe they didn't have any great success, but they stuck with the sport. There's many instances where people will, because of a school or advanced degrees or new careers or financial hardship, they have to pull back from the sport for days, weeks, years at a time. But oftentimes they'll come back, and it really is a lifetime kind of experience, which is amazing to me.
Do you mind my asking you this? What could I use judo? I mean, and look, I know nothing about judo.
Yeah.
Okay. When you even said to me about doing a show about judo, I'm like, okay, is that like karate? But I'm learning that that's a different form of a martial art, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, can I learn judo myself as a protection?
Well, okay, yeah, you can learn judo at any age, and I encourage people to learn judo at any age. The difficulty is, and one of the reasons why Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is really popular, and by the way, it's a great sport as well. I mean, I don't personally love it like I like judo, but Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a great sport, and there are people that absolutely love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu just as much as I love judo. The tough thing about judo is we throw people. We throw people. And I love Lucy, they call them flips, judo flips. Well, we don't call them flips. That's stupid. We call them throws. But in judo, you know, the three most dominant areas, or actually two, is standing. We call it tachiwaza. And then groundwork, we call newaza. And then in newaza, there's various ways to get your opponent to submit. But in tachiwaza, you know, we throw our opponents down, and that's ultimately, and I'm a big fan of UFC and MMA, a huge fan. I mean, which I think is value. It doesn't have any core values. It's just a sport. I mean, it's a spectacle. It's a show. I mean, it's very entertaining, and I love it.
Are there guys that are in MMA that know judo?
Oh, absolutely. Well, well, you know, Ronda Rousey, I'm sure. You know,
I guess the name, okay,
of course, yeah. No, most dominant female force in UFC history, and will live in infamy. She's a bronze medalist in the Beijing Olympics. Judo, yeah. And then Kayla Harrison, by the way, is having her debut MMA experience tomorrow night, Saturday night.
Oh, wow.
And she's expected to be, and I'm sure will be, a very dominant force in MMA.
So could a guy like, now does she know different, forgive me for not knowing, but does she know different types of martial arts, and she combines
She's adapted.
them?
So judo's her sport, just like with Ronda Rousey. Judo's her martial art. It's her sport. So she's primarily going to be a judoka in the octagon. However, that said, you can't just do judo and win in MMA. She's had to embrace, Muay Thai, boxing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because MMA is so broad and so broad in terms of what it takes to actually be successful. But judoka are very well equipped to enter into that arena as competently as any wrestler, BJJ, boxer, any of the martial arts. And I think judo's the best. But the funny thing about judo as it relates to MMA is that personally, I believe judo is the most effective martial art in the world, bar none. There's nothing even close. Well, you might ask me why I think that.
Why do you think that?
Okay, so the reason I think that, and the reason I know it to be true, is because in real life, when there's altercations in real life, oftentimes there's at least a 2-to-1 chance that you're going to be on a hard surface, concrete, hardwood floor. So when you really throw somebody with a judo throw, you do a haraigoshi or uchimata or osotogari, and they come down on a concrete or an asphalt pavement, they don't get up. I mean, period. They don't get up. Where in the octagon, it's a protective surface. It's not a full-on tatami. It's not a full-on judo mat, but the guys are, very well equipped to be thrown on that surface. They know how to fall. They expect to be thrown. So you oftentimes see really nice big judo throws in the octagon, and it's really kind of meaningless, other than it gets the guys on their back or the girls on their back. But in real life, in a true altercation in a parking lot at a Denny's, they don't get up. I mean, they don't get up.
And you're talking for self-protection.
Yeah, for obviously self-defense. Self-defense. So I would encourage any age group to embrace judo for that reason. But the difficulty is that I want to get back to is that kids are more equipped to take falls. That's the reality. They're more equipped to go flying through the air. We teach them how to fall, and they want to fall. So it's your age.
Just the thought of that. My sciatic nerve just went.
So what we do with guys like you, Patrick, is we get these big, thick, 18-inch, crash pads. We call them crash pads.
Okay.
And we try not to let you hurt yourself by falling on the mat. So anyway, it's good at all ages, but particularly with judo. I think you really do got to start. That's why it's so important to get them while they're young, because then it becomes a lifetime experience in every way imaginable, health-wise, mental health-wise, every way.
So, I mean, I'm not going to make a commitment yet, but I mean, this could be kind of cool because like we could keep doing these shows, and as the progression of these shows, as the shows progress, maybe I get involved in judo and people can actually see the changes.
Oh, that would be amazing.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm going to do that.
I don't think you realize what you're getting into.
Yeah. Am I committing myself?
I think the issue with that is that's a great dream to have.
I mean, it's a thought.
Holy crap. Can you imagine that?
I'm not saying I'm going to yet. Okay, maybe I will.
Okay, so you're just talking about it. Okay, all right. Okay. No, but I think that even a sort of a cursory, involvement, with a self-defense judo-related, judo-based self-defense class, it's nothing but good, And our goal, obviously, is expose to as many people as possible to the sport.
Would I get to go with you?
I don't recommend that. I don't have any patience for newbies like you. You'd get hurt, I think. But
well, I mean, I don't want to go against you.
Actually, experience a judo injury and then the recovery of it, that could be a show in of itself. Actually, right? I mean,
no. Well, not on me.
No. I mean, with the technology today, they can take a knee that's completely blown out and rebuild it better than new. I mean, it might be something to think about.
Yeah.
Anyway, hey, so we got to wrap up here pretty quick here because we're probably over our time limit that we've committed to at 20 minutes. But I do want to talk about a couple things that are going on here over the next 8 or 10 shows. We're going to, not necessarily every show, but every 2 or 3 shows, we're going to have big name personalities come on the show. Olympic medalists, huge contributing judo coaches to the current day modern judo success in this country. Make it some international leaders to come on board. I don't want to name names because I've got some committed and some sort of on the fence, but it's going to be a good interesting group of people to bring in to talk to us about their experiences. In addition to that, then I've got a group of folks lined up that that are not international or national champions or known coaches or known leaders in the judo world. They're just people. They're just people, and they're people that have good stories about what judo did for their lives as young people, and then that carried through with them the rest of their lives. And some pretty amazing stories, really, some amazing stories, and they're interested in telling their story. So we'll have a few of those. So I promise the content's going to be interesting. But of special note, the winningest coach in the history of American judo, Jimmy Pedro, is coming to Denver on July 14th, 15th, and 16th for a mini camp. And we're going to have Jimmy on the show, and we're going to talk about the camp a little bit, talk about some of his experiences. He's a very inspirational, beyond words, he's an inspirational speaker when he talks about his experiences personally and his path to success in judo world, what it's meant to him, and then the people he's coached. I mean, he's just coached some amazing athletes and some amazing people.